how many people agree with you, that doesn't mean it's necessarily right. There, now you've defined for everyone what's fallacious about argumentum ad populum. Give a really obvious example of why the fallacy is incorrect. Preferably, the example should also be an unfavorable analogy for the opposition's proposal. Thus, quote, last century, the majority of people in some states thought slavery was acceptable, but that didn't make it so, unquote. And then finally, point out why the logical fallacy matters to the debate round. In this case, it's going to be to your argument with whoever you're talking with. This fallacious argument should be thrown out of the debate, and that means that the opposition's only remaining argument for X is ellipses. Okay? Are you with me? Show why it's no good, and then show what you have that is good for your argument. Committing your very own logical fallacies. Oh, yeah. And we do. In general, of course, and I'm quoting, it's a good idea to avoid logical fallacies if at all possible. Because a good debater will almost always catch you. It is especially important to avoid obvious logical fallacies like the one above, argumentum ad populum, because everybody says it. You know, the teenager, Mom, everybody's doing this. Yeah, that's not good enough for me. It's just not. Because they are vulnerable to such powerful and persuasive refutations. But sometimes a logical fallacy, or at least an unjustified logical leap, is unavoidable. And there are some types of arguments that are listed in logical fallacies and logic textbooks, but that are perfectly acceptable in the context of the rules of a debate. The most important guidelines for committing such fallacies yourself is to know when you are doing it. I told you this a few shows ago. Be able to recognize your own logical fallacies before you go trying to pick apart others, okay? Know when you're committing these fallacies and ask yourself, first of all, A, can I be called out on this fallacy? B, is this logical fallacy that I'm committing important? Does it persuade in some way through, appeal to emotion? And so I'm going to take that risk by using this logical fallacy to appeal to emotion because I think it can help my cause here. Or C, am I going to be in a defending position when this is pointed out that weakens my entire argument because I've just committed this logical fallacy and the person I'm discussing it with or some third party? When you do radio shows, you never know when your shit's going to get reviewed. So just like Penn Jillette said on that thing, somebody's going to pick apart everything I say. And I encourage it. That's what leads you to truth. But you have to decide if it's a worthy risk. In other words, if you can avoid committing a logical fallacy at any time, just do. Don't do it. Especially if you're going to be the type to point fingers about logical fallacies. You don't want to be the hypocrite. Let's see. Just want to make sure I haven't missed anything in chat. We're going to get on to the list of logical fallacies. This is not the same list as I read before. Okay, it wasn't the Prime Minister. Yeah. Why did he pretend to be the Prime Minister of Australia, I wonder? That's weird. Maybe just to see that Americans I didn't recognize him. And I'm fairly, updated on world affairs and world leaders. I didn't recognize him, but he was out of office, I think, in 2007-ish, I think was the last time he served, or 2004, somewhere in there. So it just wasn't, fresh in my memory. You can't know everybody. So, yeah, logical fallacies, list of logical fallacies. These are the ones that this student at Cal State decided were important, okay? And I kind of agree with them. Listen to this. The list of logical fallacies, what follows is not a comprehensive list of all the known logical fallacies. There's probably a couple hundred of those, actually. Nor is it intended as a rigorous philosophical treatise on logical reasoning. If that's what you're looking at it for, you should check out the following excellent web resources: the Atheist Web's Logic page or San Jose University Mission Critical page. Ooh, I gotta open that one real quick, and I'll read it later. Didn't see that before. I don't argue from a format of atheism. Because I don't get into the religious thing. Forget about it. You either believe in God or you don't know. And I don't know. So I stay out of it. You believe in your God? Good. If you kill people in the name of your God, fuck you, is what I say. And your prophet. Argumentum ad antiquitatem, which in some countries does mean eat the potatoes. No, I just made that up. That's called an artistic license. The argument to antiquity or tradition, and you'll hear this a lot in business meetings. We talked about this before. Familiar argument that some policy, behavior, or practice is right or acceptable because it's always been done that way. Folks, that is not a strong argument. That is not a strong argument. You can attack it very easily. Ask the person who said it, if you don't agree with the way it's always been done, why it was done that way. Because I can assure you that a lot of policies that become policy become so through nothing other than neglect. Okay? Nobody paid attention. Somebody wrote a couple sentences. There's your policy. We're done. So ask yourself, does the change need to happen? And then show why. And if you're feeling really ballsy and someone, it's always been done that way, pops up, you can then go in and accuse them of argumentum ad antiquitatem. Yeah. Argumentum ad hominem. Now, this is ad hominem. Latin is not my forte, folks. I don't do Latin. I do little teeny bits of Latin here and there. So I'm not trying to pronounce this stuff right. Those of you that took Latin, you know, what the fuck's wrong with you first, if I may? And then second, it sounds dumb to speak the language. Yeah, everything's, you know, it's like when they were reading the rites at William Wallace's dad's and funeral. I think dad and brother. Did he? I think it was his dad and his brother. Omnibus, Romnibus, get on the Romnibus with Romney and vote for Romnibus, Omnibus, Eichling, Gleichling, Gleeklin. You know, you go sing that if you want with some monks, but I'm not gonna read it. Argumentum ad ignorantium. Now you heard the important part of that, right? This is the fallacy of assuming something is true simply because it hasn't been proven false. Remember that, folks. And you see this in religion all the time. Nothing is true just because it hasn't been proven false. You know, for example, someone might argue that global warming is certainly occurring because nobody has demonstrated conclusively that it is not. But failing to prove that global warming theory false is not the same as proving it true. And you need to know the difference. They try to fool general audiences with this all the time. You see it all the time. It's just, well, no one's proven that, so the inference is, it must be true. Bullshit. Bullshit. It's just, you know, you got to be able to call it out. Or you can also say, argumentum ad ignorantium. All right, argumentum ad logicam. This is the fallacy of assuming that something is... I'm sorry, we just did that one. Argumentum ad misericordiam. Let me see if I said that right. Argumentum ad misericordiam. I did say that right. The English translation pretty much says it all. Example, think of all the poor, starving Ethiopian children. How could we be so cruel as to not help them? The problem with such an argument is that no amount of special pleading can make the impossible possible, the false true, the expensive costless, etc. It is, of course, perfectly legitimate to point out that the severity of a problem is part of the justification for adopting a proposed solution. The fallacy comes in when the other aspects of the proposed solution, such as whether it's possible, how much it cost, who else might be harmed by adopting the policy, are ignored or responded to only with more impassioned pleas. You should not call your opposition down for committing this fallacy unless they rely on appeals to pity to the exclusion of the other necessary arguments. It is perfectly acceptable to use appeal to pity in order to argue that the benefits of the proposed policy are greater than they might first appear and hence capable of justifying larger cost. If you guys haven't read the book, I would encourage you to read a book my friend Joe sent to me called Ishmael. It's about a talking gorilla. And you will quickly be led from a land of Disney into the land of reality. Because what you realize is that you can't fix everything. Nature will constantly trim herself. It's what she's going to do. It's what she's always done. Every community knows it. If we get to a very weird point in human history where everyone can be fed and everyone can get adequate medical attention and there's room for everybody and there's water for everybody, we're going to be at a very strange point because we've never been at that point in the past. Nature keeps trimming back. If we get to that point, population will explode, especially with new medicines causing people to live longer. And we're going to have to get the fuck off this planet. I'm serious. We're not going to have room for everybody. Start getting the fuck off. Get out. Spread out. I mean, that's the thing to do. But if you read that book, Ishmael, you see very quickly why we cannot continue to support starving populations. It doesn't work. You feed 20,000, they're going to breed. 20 years later, you have 50,000, etc., etc. Then the big bill comes in 3 or 4 generations down the road. And instead of having what would have been another 20,000 dying off, you now have a couple of million. So you can do that math. Let's see. We never talk about OC leaders here, so that's how they got away with it. That's right. That's right. I think the new PM is a sheep. I did not know this. I think deep down, Andrew wants to come to America. I mean, I don't know why exactly, but I think if he comes to America, he would probably end up going to Arizona. Yeah, Arizona is a special state. Don't you think so, Apocalypse? Well, I mean, if you go out Apocalypse's back door and look at the landscape, I think it would look something like your average Australian landscape. Yeah, you know. I don't think they have much tumbleweed over in Australia, but the wallabies, because, you know, Apocalypse raises wallabies. The wallabies, the kangaroos, the crocs, the elephants, no, wait, there's no elephants over there, but there are, let's see, I think there's honey badgers over there, very bad snakes in Australia. You don't want to go there. And of course, motherfucking cane toads. Nigga, let's talk about some cane toads up in this bitch today. What the fuck is wrong with Australia and the goddamn cane toads? You can't go anywhere without running over some motherfucking breeding cane toads. A ribbit, a bleh. Just like that all the damn time, the cane toads. It's like Big Daddy cane toads up in this bitch. The Prime Minister needs to start dealing with the cane toad problem. Or figure out a way to launch them at Russia. Because Russia's not that far. You can see it from your house. My comedy for the day. I don't feel like talking about logic anymore. It's too much like work. I'm going to play. Let's play. What are you guys doing in the chat? Come on, let's light this bitch up. Hey, Aaron, APOC, Andrew, everybody in the chat room, we're just going to light this bitch up and go freestyle right about now. And I was looking earlier, and I'm going to share this link with you guys. I know some of you guys do like Fox News. I'm not going to beat on you about that. But Jon Stewart pulled out the big guns and unveils 50 Fox News lies in 6 seconds. So I'm going to share that with you and see what you think about it. Who do you think is the most dishonest news organization in the world? Rate your top 2 or 3. Andrew says, cane toads are the only where it is hot all the time, so not in my area. Okay. Yeah, I just happened to see a weird special one time on the cane toads and you know how invasive that was, because I believe they were imported essentially, which happens pretty often, invasive species, and they basically had no natural predators, so they fucking bred like bunnies, and they were all over the place and the roads, and you know, people had them all in their yard and shit. Yeah, why would I watch a documentary about cane toads in Australia? Because I'm Kevin Kierstead, and that's what I motherfucking do. Yeah, I want to know about shit. I got to know about shit. So I know about shit. I'm learning about shit. And where you cannot learn about shit is unreliable news sources, my friends. If you're going there for entertainment, admit it to yourself. Say, I'm coming here to be entertained. They're telling me what I like. I want to hate on the left. I want to hate on the blacks. This is why I come here. If you go into MSNBC, know this. Know this. You're on a far left-wing network, and they're going to attack anything that remotely resembles Republican or Tea Party, regardless of the validity of a position in that party. So this is what you're getting. Now, if you can admit to yourself and admit to me, I'm going there to be entertained. They tell me what I like to hear. I love hating on the right. I love destroying the Tea Party in every argument I can try to destroy them. And MSNBC helps me do that. I'm with you. I get it. That's fine. But if you're going there saying, they're right, everybody else is wrong, then you're fucking narrow-minded. And you need to expand your vision a little bit to take facts a little bit more seriously than propaganda. Because propaganda has led this world down some nasty paths, wouldn't you say? Yeah? Anybody got any countries that come to mind today, 50 years ago, 100 years ago? I do. You can pull on a population's heartstrings by manipulating discussions about religion or their race or the fight that their sex or their culture is in. You know, like, say, for example, the effort right now by the left to sort of hug, if you will, immigrants from Mexico. And it's a political move, I think, that did start off with genuine concern over immigration reform, but now has become to, let's make the Hispanic population work for us in 2016. Let's get these people on our sides. We're going to do this with executive orders, and we're also going to do this by showing our support. And And it's working politically. It is working. So, and the Republicans aren't doing themselves any